Drug development is an extremely demanding and highly complex process. I mean, it takes years, even decades to succeed. And things are always going sideways. They're always breaking, right? Threatening to derail the project. I think the drive to win has to be there. Otherwise, how do you get up day after day and go after it aggressively?
Welcome and thank you for joining us for the Virtual Investor On Demand Summer Spotlight What's Your Story series. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR, and today we are featuring Wally Klemp. He is founder, president, CEO, and chairman of Moleculin Biotech. Welcome, Wally.
Glad to be here, Janine. Thanks for asking.
Always happy to have you. And before I turn it over to Wally, I'd like to remind you that Moleculin trades on NASDAQ under the ticker MBRX. And Wally will be making forward-looking statements, and I encourage everyone to view the company's website at moleculin.com, as well as the SEC's website for their latest filings and information. Okay, Wally, over to you. We want to hear your story. So we're going to start with this. Can you tell us one thing that people would be surprised to know about you?
Well, so actually, I'm a closet inventor. In fact, I'm a named inventor on 38 different US patents. And this actually stems in part from growing up, of all things, as a racer. I raced motorcycles, and I started at the age of 8. By the time I was 15, I was trying to qualify for the US team in what's considered to be the Olympics of motorcycle racing. It's called the International 6 Days Enduro. But we were very much a blue-collar family. So I never had the money or the resources of the factory-sponsored riders. And the one thing about racing is you're always breaking things, and you're always replacing parts and finding ways to go faster than the competition. And if you can't afford to pay someone else to do this, you've got to figure out how to do it yourself. Now, my father was a mechanic and a machinist. My grandfather was a master carpenter, and I learned at their feet to invent solutions, the ones that I needed for racing, or to barter for the things that I couldn't do myself. And that really taught me the value of team building at a very early age.
Wally, great story. Thank you for sharing that. So I have to ask, was there a definitive moment that shaped your career, your focus, your passion?
Well, there was. Eventually, and this was a while ago, but at the age of 18, I had a decision to make. Commit 100% to pursuing a factory sponsorship and, frankly, bet my future on racing, or go to college. I chose college. Again, I didn't have the money for college, so I started a building business. Again, I got all this background from my father and my grandfather, and I made enough money building houses during the summers to pay my way through college. And that's when it was super clear to me that I always wanted to run my own business, and it needed to be creating something that people needed, but that they couldn't get unless someone else was willing to take the risk to build it from scratch. And you know what? The harder it was to create, the more exciting the challenge was.
So Wally, as you think about, your journey to CEO of Moleculin and the other opportunities that you've had and roles as CEO of other companies, I often hear CEOs say it's very lonely as CEO. The weight of the world is on your shoulders. And from what you just described, you're trying to create something that people need and that'll have an impact. So, what keeps you up at night as CEO of Moleculin? And, also what drives you and motivates you to get up every day?
You're right. It is kind of a lonely position and feeling, because I think if you have intellectual integrity, you do feel the weight of everyone else's well-being sort of falling on your shoulders. Like the buck stops with you, and so you've got to deliver every time, right? And it probably sounds like a crazy connection, but racing actually taught me so much about how to succeed in drug development. I know that sounds strange, but drug development is an extremely demanding and highly complex process. I mean, it takes years, even decades, to succeed. And things are always going sideways. They're always breaking, right? Threatening to derail the project. I think the drive to win has to be there. Otherwise, how do you get up day after day and go after it aggressively? You can't let losses or setbacks keep you down. And like with racing, it just doesn't happen without a team. And the better the team, the better your chances are to succeed. I think it's really important to understand that developing a cancer drug doesn't end with the discovery of the drug. In fact, as you know, that's just the beginning. From that point forward, there's this seemingly endless gauntlet of manufacturing and testing and regulatory hurdles that the team has to overcome. It's solving problem after problem after problem, and you're constantly having to invent solutions to challenges, a lot of those challenges that have never been encountered before. And succeeding in the face of so many of these challenges takes just this unrelenting desire to win. But that drive to win has to be balanced with a willingness to take risks, but those risks have to be thoughtfully calculated. And that, to me, that's the essence of racing. And yet it's exactly what we need to get Annamycin across its own finish line as a newly approved drug.
So if you think about the future of Moleculin and you think about what's next and you think about your journey so far and where you're taking the company, how do you think your leadership positions Moleculin to create stakeholder value?
Janine, you know, one of my heartaches is that the market just does not recognize the value that we're building here in Moleculin. But the fact is that too many AML patients are dying today. Children with cancer to this day are being treated with drugs that we know are permanently damaging their hearts. And I think the naysayers lose sight of the fact that Annamycin is positioned to change all that. This team knows that, and they feel it to their core. And look, thanks in some small part to my decidedly blue-collar upbringing, I'm part of a team at Moleculin that knows what it takes to win. And we're driven to do that. And I think that makes all the difference.
Well, I think it does as well. I think you and your team are heading, in the right direction to do great things for the AML community and beyond, and really appreciate all the work you're doing. So before we close, though, I have to ask, do you still ride a motorcycle?
No, I racked up so many injuries that my wife laid down the law and said, "You're going to change sports, or I'm not going to be around anymore to pick you up from the emergency room." So I switched to mountain biking. That was the compromise. So.
Well, Wally, thank you always for joining, but I really want to thank you for sharing your story. It was very meaningful, and I'm sure our audience appreciates it. I also want to thank our listeners for tuning in today. And if you're interested in what you heard, I encourage you to visit Moleculin's website at moleculin.com for more information on their website. You can also sign up to receive their alerts, as well as follow their social channels to stay current on the latest information. And if you'd like to hear more Summer Spotlight What's Your Story webcasts, we encourage you to visit our website at virtualinvestorco.com. Wally, thanks again. Thanks to our audience, and wishing everyone a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Janine. Take care.